Hooday to all those who celebrate. Welcome back to another episode of Gridiron Jungle with your two favorite Bengals fans. I'm Kyron, better known as Rich. Of course, I'm not alone here with my brother, Philly Phil.
Yes,
Fresh
sir.
off the daddy-daughter dance, man.
Yes,
Came to
sir. Yes,
pod, man. He's a
sir.
professional. You know you're a professional when you have other duties, but you still make time in your schedule to record. How you doing today, Phil? How's everything going?
I'm doing good, man. Yeah, it was a solid Saturday. You mentioned the daddy daughter dance is something we look forward to each and every year. This was our third consecutive year. So my last year just taking my oldest set of twins, Marley and Journey. So next year I'm gonna add Kobe and Callie to the mix, and it's gonna be a Royal Rumble.
Yeah, you about to buy a section at the at the at the
Yeah,
spot. Yeah,
for
bottle
sure.
service and all that.
For
All the
sure.
all the apple juice and orange juice they can think of, everything sparkling grape, Welch's whole nine. But shout
Yeah,
out to
more
that,
than
man. I think that's a great. I was gonna say I think that's just a great event that they have each and every year, man. So shout out to everybody at the Daddy Daughter Dance who showed up. But as much as you care about our weekend and the festivities, I know you are all here to get our thoughts on the upcoming Super Bowl. Super Bowl 49, 59, excuse me, Super Bowl
50.
59.
Mhm.
LIX, as Gronk said. Phil informed me that Gronk called it Super Bowl LIX, which
Yeah.
is on brand for Gronk. Obviously, as Bengals fans, we wish we were recovering this in a different way. But I'm gonna say we're gonna get there next year, man. Super Bowl 60.
Santa
Bengals will be in the
Clara.
building. Yeah, man, we gotta speak it, man. That's gonna probably the most expensive Super Bowl of all time, just given the area and everything that goes along with Super Bowl events. I can't even fathom what that's gonna cost, but we'll figure it out. But no wishful thinking right now. Let's talk about the real deal, the real business. This week we are going to just go ahead and break down the NFL honors, give our thoughts on that. We'll talk about some Bengals news. Obviously, it's been media week, so some Bengals have been in New Orleans. And then we'll also discuss some prop bets that we'd like to see if anybody out there wants to put some wagers in on the game. And of course, the main thing you're all here for, which is our Super Bowl predictions. So, Phil, let's go ahead and start with the NFL honors. We had planned, just like we told all of you out there, original plan was to record Thursday after the NFL honors. Well, neither
Mhm.
one of us knew that the awards didn't start until 9 p.m., which means they ended around 11. And I didn't want to give any kind of groggy thoughts or anything like that. So we figured we just combine everything in one. So, with that being said, a lot of awards given out. Obviously, the big one we can start off with is the MVP. Josh Allen, was not voted first team All Pro at quarterback. Lamar Jackson was, but he did walk away with the MVP award. I can't remember in the NBA. It's gonna bother me. Donovan's probably shout out to D Hall, man. He's probably listening right now. It's probably he can tell you what I'm about to say. There was a year where somebody won Defensive Player of the Year, but they weren't first team All Defense.
Bro, so
And I can't remember who it was and what year it was, but it was just one of those things where I'm like, how you not first team All Defense, but you won Defensive Player of the Year? That's weird.
yeah. And just for context, Josh Allen is the third player to receive the MVP without being named first team All Pro. And the first award was given in 1957. Just to put it into context, like this, I saw it on X today. I still like to call it Twitter. I saw it on Twitter today. This was the first DEI NFL MVP. Like it was like some reverse DEI, like the same thing that Trump is doing, reversing DEI. Like that's what just happened with the MVP. Like I mean, it was and I know we're on the MVP right now, but for him to win the FedEx Air Player of the Year when Burrow threw for 1,200 more yards and more touchdowns, like it's just absurd. Like the way that they prop up Josh Allen, I just truly don't get it. I mean, I'm not gonna say he's not good because I'm known for calling him mid Allen all of the time, but
hmm
anybody that knows ball knows that this dude was not the MVP. I know they tried to build this up. We talked about them making this into a two-man race and all this, that, and the other with the hype and the coverage around it. But and this should have been a runaway. This was a travesty.
Yeah, this is Carl Malone winning an award. This is Charles Barkley. Even though Charles Barkley had a great 1993 season, when you just know or you get voter fatigue and sometimes look at it like I don't want to vote for that person anymore. I think Jokic had to deal with it. I think that year Embiid got it. I think Jokic is just the thing is you're supposed to give it to the best player and
Yeah.
not think about what it means historically. I know historically it looks weird when if you give Jokic that MVP that year, that would have been like 3 or 4 in a row he would have ended up doing, or 4 MVPs in general. Like you just start looking at it from a historical sense, and it's like, all right, I'm not gonna give it to him this year because of that. And I think that they did the same with Lamar. Obviously, the media drives this, has been a big driving factor. Obviously, those trash Christmas gifts that they got Josh Allen, the MVP on the back or whatever it was. I don't even know, man. Whatever. Either way, they were pushing the narrative. They got it. I don't know, man. I don't see how you look at Lamar's numbers and don't vote him for MVP. He had a better season than last year. He won MVP last year. So just logically, it's all kind of messed up. The awards are subjective, but they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
I don't know who vote. I don't even know who votes for the NFL honors and
It's a
does all of that.
weird combination of people. Like, you see people from media. I feel like I think it is media because like Brady was on there. I know like Dan Orlovsky was on there. So I think it is a lot of media people that have
Just
votes. And
it's just
I
odd.
don't know if you saw the votes got exposed. The
Yeah, I
people that
saw.
voted first team, second team versus MVP and that sort of thing. So I don't know.
It was a close.
Before
I'm
we
gonna,
move on to the other awards, which I don't know if we are right now, but I thought it was interesting that Brady actually had Jamar Chase voted higher on his MVP ballot than he did Burrow. He had him one spot ahead of Burrow, and I think he was like one of the only notable ballots I saw that had Chase on it. So I thought that was kind of cool to see Chase,
I,
on an
I
MVP
think it.
ballot with somebody like Brady.
No, that's interesting. I think it was more so the acknowledgement of the Triple Crown,
Hmm.
just how rare that is, and I think that's part of everybody have. I'm sure everybody has their own criteria for what the MVP is, right? Who's the best player, people talk about that, most valuable, best player, whatever the case may be.
Hmm.
And I think he looked at it from, all right, who had the highest degree of difficulty this year? And I think pulling that off for Jamar, and I'm sure as a former quarterback, the GOAT, I'm sure he looks at some things in some situations. All right, well, as good as you are, Joe, maybe there were a couple games you should have just got that win, just brought it home. I don't know if it's probably not fair, whatever the case is. I just think he probably looks at the quarterback position differently. But they remind me a lot of each other, so I don't know. Either way, it's all subjective, man. It's like award shows, anything else. It's all subjective. You obviously this builds on people's resumes and their legacy, so you want to see them get it right. Josh Allen won the MVP award in October, November when that narrative started.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
I just
Whatever.
feel I just feel like, because a lot of times in these awards, like you said, it is objective and people get into semantics. But even if you view it as the best player or the best player award, I don't think it's Josh Allen. If you look at it from what is called the most valuable player, I still don't think it's Josh Allen. You know what I mean? And I think you could argue that if you look at it those two different ways, I think you could argue two different people, and I don't think Josh Allen is one of them. But I digress.
Yeah. I know you mentioned other awards. We're going to talk about the big ones. Obviously, some of this stuff, like you said, the FedEx, the ground player, the air player,
Yeah,
all that kind of stuff.
yeah, we ain't
We'll
gonna
just
talk
give a
about
rundown of actually who won. So we'll start Deacon Jones. Well, we'll leave the Bengals for last. A couple Bengals did win, or actually 3 of them did, but not the big awards. Air player Josh Allen, like you mentioned. Rookie was Jaden Daniels. Assistant coach Ben Johnson, the new head coach of the Chicago
it.
Bears.
Mhm.
Salute to service was George Kittle. NFL play Jaden Daniels. Like I said, I'm not even sure what that is. I don't know if that's kids voting.
I'm not sure who votes on him, but it was that Hail Mary play, which in my opinion was the player of the year.
Okay,
I mean,
gotcha.
that completely like catapulted their season.
Oh, you know what?
So
I thought I said kids. Play 60 is what I was thinking of. So I'm like,
nah,
Play 60 got their own award where the kids vote for the. All
yeah.
right, no, the play of the year. All right, bet. I wonder. Now I'm curious. I don't even know what the other nominees were. Um,
I
You
can't
know,
remember off the top of my head. There were some good ones on there. I think that Jamar Chase Dallas touchdown might have been on
I'm about to say,
there.
were we on there?
The Lamar Jackson double stiff arm on Hubbard was on there. So yeah, it was some plays on there, but the Hail Mary, man, that Hail Mary, it had like a 3% probability. Like it was the craziest play out of the nominees
I
that
remember,
occurred. So
I
like,
remember watching it in real time and just.
yeah.
I remember the group chat. I think our group chat went crazy when
Mhm,
it happened.
mhm.
All of it, man. That was an incredible play. Yeah, well deserved. Shout out to Jaden Daniels. That's why I was confused. They gave it to Jaden Daniels and not the team.
Yeah,
But I guess it wouldn't be the same because it's a play.
yeah.
So I forget who caught that ball. I don't know if it was Noah Brown,
Noah
whoever.
Brown. Yep.
Yes, he should have been included with it too.
Yeah.
So whatever. Either way, semantics. Art Rooney Award, Josh Allen, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Jaden Daniels, Comeback Player of the Year, Mr.
No
Shicey
beef.
himself.
Yes, sir.
Um, and since I went there, I might as well say the Deacon Jones Awards for sack leader. That was obviously Trey Hendrickson.
Mm-hmm.
You have the Defensive Rookie of the Year, Jared Verse, incredible season.
True.
Offensive
No,
Player of the
no argument
Year,
there.
Offensive Player of the Year, Saquon. Now, I knew this was going to happen, so it wasn't a surprise. How were the votes tallied, or do you remember for Offensive Player of the Year? Did Jamar get a first place vote or any first place votes?
He had
Which is this?
zero first place votes. He's the youngest Triple Crown winner ever. He had more touchdowns than Saquon Barkley. The last Triple Crown winner won Offensive Player of the Year. Like it just makes absolutely no sense. It just shows you how much the Bengals are, just hated for whatever reason. Like it just doesn't like. And the Triple Crown is much more rare than running for 2,000 yards. Like he didn't even break the record. You know what I mean? Like I just don't get it.
Politics as usual. See, it would have been. That's how it's almost. I don't want to discredit Saquon. I think obviously it comes down to
I don't
winning.
want to. Yeah, I'm not
Yeah, but
discrediting
it's just
either.
that's insane. Yeah, I don't think you are either. But I just think that's insane. I'm thinking about the Heisman voting, and I'm thinking about if Genty would have won over Travis Hunter, which was There was getting a lot of conversation, a lot of
Yeah,
talk. Some people still feel he was the better player, but I don't. But I was like, man, if he breaks Barry Sanders' record, there might be a good argument. And I can
for
see the same
sure.
with Saquon. If he had broken Eric Dickerson's record, then yeah, okay, I can be open to some conversation. But
I mean,
even if he didn't, even if Jamar didn't win, right? No
yeah.
first place votes is insane. It's criminal. It's
Insane.
asinine.
I mean, if Saquon went crazy in the receiving game as well or something else, like, all right, cool. Like, like Travis Hunter played two ways, like, and was the man both ways, like probably the top corner and probably a top three receiver. So yeah, I feel like he deserved that. But I mean, Derrick Henry had a hell of a season too as a running back. You know what I mean? Like literally nobody was touching Jamar. And we talking about a league that has, elite receivers. You know what I'm saying? Like you got the Justin Jeffersons, you got the CD Lambs, you got the AJ Browns, you got the Tyreek Hills, you know what I mean? And like he led Triple Crown, like, and he dominated. You know what I mean? I think the closest person was like Brock Bowers. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just like,
Yeah. It's whatever, man. You mentioned something. I want to say it right now because otherwise I'll probably forget it if I wait. There was the Super Bowl rounds. Joe was being interviewed about something. He did a blind ranking of LSU
mhm,
receivers.
yeah,
This is just a small thing, but I gotta ask you. Anytime Justin Jefferson mentioned, he puts him in the same. We all know who Justin Jefferson is, right?
hmm
Incredible player.
hmm
I'm under the belief I'm just one of those people. If you on my team, it's always you.
yep,
Like always. Like
hmm
if I played with you in the past or not, if I'm on your team right now, it's always you. And
always,
I remember last year, I think the I Am Athlete, when they asked, they're at the Bengals facility and asked like who's better, Jamar or Justin. And Joe
hmm
kind of had that look like he didn't want to answer.
yeah,
And then this one, he had Jefferson 1A, he had Jamar 1A as well. He had
yeah,
both of them as 1As.
yeah.
Being your teammate, would you like to hear Joe start saying like, no, one, Justin's two? Like, we get it. We know you guys play together. We know there's a relationship. Does that bother you at all? I'm just curious.
It doesn't, and the reason being is because of their relationship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if anybody knows what makes Jamar tick, is probably Joe.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that maybe I'm not as nice when I do it to my friends, but I think that's what he does to keep that edge for Jamar. Like, because how do you keep a guy that just became the youngest Triple Crown winner hungry? How do you keep him? You still picking Justin? Oh, bet. You know what I
Nah,
mean?
that's fair.
So I
That's
think
fair.
I,
And
I think that's all it is, and maybe in the back of Joe's mind is like, okay, maybe the Bengals BS or maybe something happens where we can all play together again. I'm gonna make sure I keep
yeah.
Justin thinking about that. So I don't
Nah, that's
know.
real. That's real, man. And it's a non-issue. It's no biggie.
Joe is
I don't think it
very
starts any kind of
calculated, so I'm sure there's something to it.
yeah. I was just always curious when I see that stuff. I'm like, all
Yeah.
right. And also, it's also a great reminder that 2020 LSU offense was crazy.
Yeah, he that same interview, he
Yeah,
asked him, he's like, that was unfair, right? And Joe was like,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And
man.
they
I
took
love the whole.
advantage of it. They took advantage of that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I can't wait until we get the. They need that.
the 30 for 30.
Florida. Yeah, they need that 30 for 30 about that team. Like,
For
because it's
sure.
kind of they came out of nowhere. Like, people don't even, I won't say people don't remember, but
Yeah.
just a night and day difference. Like, Joe played the year before at LSU.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just for something just happened overnight and they just
Mhm.
went to a whole nother level. You look at that team and the weapons, man, just a lot. They destroyed everybody. And the stats on that team, because I recently went down a rabbit hole where they talk about greatest teams of all time. I think it was right after the Ohio State won the championship, and there was something about, like, just a reminder, LSU would have destroyed this team. They put up some crazy stats from
Yeah.
that run.
Mhm.
It's almost as crazy. I think people have probably seen that Miami, the Hurricanes. I forget which year it was, but there was one of those things that their offense hadn't scored a touchdown all year. They still would have went like 8-4 or something like that, just with special teams and defensive
Yeah.
touchdowns.
Right.
Insane. Either way, back on track. Insane that Jamar got 0 offensive of the year votes. Defensive player of the year, Patrick Surtain, the second. First cornerback maybe since Revis.
Yes, yes, yes.
You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? I
Hmm.
think I not if I'm just doing this off memory.
Hmm.
I remember Revis won. I remember Dion won in '94, his year with San Francisco. I really can't recall any other corners, at least recently in the past 20, 25 years,
Hmm.
who have won Defense Player of the Year. So I didn't watch a lot of Broncos games. It's hard to judge corners, especially good ones, because a lot of them don't get tested. So it's hard to
Yeah.
really see what kind of impact they have. Were you
I
surprised by
mean,
that choice?
I I was surprised because I didn't expect a corner to get it. That's why I was
Mhm.
surprised. But I do think Pat Surtain was very deserving of it.
Yeah.
He surrendered the fewest yards of anyone at his position, second lowest passer rating when targeted, and the lowest expected points added per target. Tied his career high in interceptions with 4, led the league in interception return yards. And if I'm being honest, I don't know of any other defense in the league that's built around a corner. Like, he's literally the center of that defense.
Yeah.
And like that's incredible in this pass happy league that we're in. He locked up Jamar, he locked up DK. He locked up everybody that he went up against. Nobody really got off on him, you know what I mean? And pause. But Pat is just, he's living he's living up to that name. He's making his dad proud, you know what I mean? So I have
Yes,
no
sir.
problem with that. This team went to the playoffs, man. Nobody expected this team to go to the playoffs, and he was the leader on that defense. So I'm not mad at the pick. Definitely was surprised, but I thought it was well deserved.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's funny. We talked about the names. You and I just had a conversation recently where I texted, we didn't put the math together. I had no idea that Josh Downs, who plays for the Colts, was Caleb Downs' older brother.
Right, right, right.
And their dad played for the Falcons in the NFL. So just football family. But
Hmm.
anybody knows me knows I'm a Carolina Tar Heel basketball fan. So I was familiar with Josh Downs just because following a lot of stuff Carolina due to their basketball program. But putting that together was like, whoa, I didn't know they were related. But either way, Um, lastly, you have not lastly, you have Coach of the Year, Kevin O'Connell,
Mm-hmm.
Walter Payton Man of the Year, Eric Armstead, and then you have the MVP, which we discussed, Josh Allen. I don't think there's been a non-quarterback MVP since Adrian Peterson. Is it time to revamp and maybe rename some of these awards? Because if you're just giving it to the best player, or excuse me, the best quarterback and calling
Yeah.
it the MVP, I don't know what maybe they just need to update the criteria, maybe name it something else. I don't know.
It Some updated criteria would be nice, so there's some type of like there's got to be accountability. Like people that aren't first team all pro shouldn't be eligible to be the MVP. Like, you know what I mean? Like if it's going to be the best player at the best position or the best player at their said position, like if it was going to be a quarterback, all right, it should have been Lamar. You know what I mean? If it was going to be a receiver, all right, they better be first team. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's got to be something because that I don't like. Maybe other people didn't think it was as absurd as I did or as we did, but I don't think anybody outside of Buffalo felt like Josh Allen should have won that MVP award. Like that's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I can't remember the last time there's been an MVP that was that debatable in my opinion, or not debatable, but that like wrong. Like I don't feel like I've seen him get it wrong.
Awards are subjective. That's just the final answer to it. I
Yeah.
do. I pay attention to the first team, second team, all pro. I think that's more of an exclusive list. So many positions and so many players. It's different than the NBA when you can have. You're not gonna have. Kobe was on first team All NBA. LeBron first team all the time, or first team All NBA decades at a time. I'm talking about 11, 12 straight year runs. You know what I mean? And that just doesn't happen in football. No matter how good you are, a la Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow, you're not going to be first team All Pro quarterback the entire time. It's funny because we'll transition into some Hall of Fame because the Hall of Fame class got announced. But it's funny that I saw something earlier. They were talking about Giants fans mad about Eli. Like Eli has zero first team zero first or second team All Pros.
Yeah.
He's been to 4 Pro Bowls in a 16-year career. He's got a 500 record. He's
Yeah.
the only stat he's ever led the NFL in was interceptions.
Yeah.
Like, what makes you think he's the first ballot Hall of Famer? It's just funny when we get to these things. So
He's Jameis on a good team. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's who
yeah,
Eli is.
I
Um
like it. I like it.
before we get to the Hall of Fame class as you mentioned there, what'd you think about Coach of the Year? You think it should have been O'Connell? Because I personally felt like Sean Payton should have won the award.
It's kind of similar to the Josh Allen thing. Like when you start the season off well, and I don't want to say Josh Allen dropped off. I think Lamar's play just elevated.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, not to bring it up or bring it back to Lamar again, but are you voting on what you're seeing, or are you judging Lamar against himself?
Mm-hmm.
Right? When you reach a certain status, at that point, you're just judging it against your own work. Like I talk about films a lot, right? And it's hard for Denzel to watch a Denzel performance because you're judging Denzel against his past work. You're not judging against anybody else on the field because he's Denzel Washington,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I feel the same about Lamar. Like Lamar, he played better as the season went on and then just took off from the middle to end of the season, where I think Josh started cooking, got really hot in the middle, and then just wasn't that same guy towards the end. He still was very important to his team, made a lot of, I mean, he makes them go, but I just wasn't wowed by it. I was wowed by Lamar. Maybe I see him a lot more. Maybe it's a more intimate relationship because he's in the division. I'm not sure. But I was wowed by things Lamar did. And Josh was like, all right, whatever. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not surprised that they're at home. I'm not surprised that they're at home. They're chilling, none of that. So it is what it is. But when it comes to Coach of the Year, that was a long-winded way of saying
Mm-hmm.
I think Kevin O'Connell, the way they started that season, if you take away the way they lost, and the playoff loss to the Rams and all that, I don't think you have a problem, or anybody really has a problem with it. But Sean Payton definitely is in the category. But I think he'll get one soon. I think it was more of a surprise than anything.
Yeah, I mean, and Sean Payton is already a Hall of Fame coach in my opinion, but I think this is arguably one of his best coaching performances, taking a team that nobody expected to really do anything with a rookie quarterback and take them to the playoffs. I mean, I thought that was spectacular. You know what I mean? Because they're Pat Surtain. I don't know a lot of guys on that team. They got Cortland Sutton. They got hodgepodge of running backs. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
What are
it's
we? What? Are,
you know
yeah.
what I'm saying.
The
So
second name you mentioned, Cortland Sutton. That means it's time to move on to the next category.
so I mean, and we're talking about the AFC. We talking about we didn't even make the playoffs. So I don't know. I think that says a lot, especially like I said, in a quarterback-driven league with a rookie quarterback that wasn't one of the top, rookie quarterbacks that you heard talked about. So I don't know.
Yeah. We'll see, man. Let's go ahead and
But
talk about this
but
talk.
but achieving that type of success with Sam Darnold as your quarterback, I won't argue. So.
All right, man. Moving on to the Hall of Fame. So we have the smallest Hall of Fame class in the NFL, class of 2025, smallest since 2005 when Dan Marino and Jim Kelly. I think Jim Kelly got inducted in that same class. So it has been 20 years. 2000. Yeah, I guess they stopped playing in 1999. Man, time flies. So it's been 20 years since we had a class this small. Only 4 players. We have Eric Allen. Actually, hold on, my list. I don't know what happened to my list. 1 second.
Antonio Gates, Jared Allen, and
Sterling Sharp,
Sterling.
and
Yep.
there's one more person.
Eric Allen, Jared Allen, Sterling Sharp, Antonio Gates.
Okay, that's 4. Okay, my fault. I didn't hear you say the other Allen, Jared Allen.
Gotcha.
4 people. Obviously, one of the snubs was Cincinnati Bengals legend Willie Anderson,
Big
arguably the
Willie.
best right tackle in history. The Bengals might have the best right tackle and left tackle in history.
Yep.
I know people will disagree, but it is what it is. I don't
It's
think you
hard
really
to-
can. You can't agree with. You can't disagree with Anthony Munoz. I don't think, but maybe
Mm-mm.
if you want to put some arguments at right tackle, that's fine.
Yeah.
Notable snubs. I mentioned Eli already. Terrell Suggs, who I forgot played on the Chiefs team. Like
I
he won a
forgot
Super Bowl
about
with the
that
Chiefs. I
too.
forgot all about that.
Yeah.
Adam Vinatieri and Marshall Yanda. There were some notable snubs, as well as Cincinnati's very own Luke Kuechly. I always thought that might be a difficult or uphill battle just because he didn't play a lot of years in the league, even though they were very productive.
Yeah.
Similar to Sterling Sharp. That was the biggest knock on Sterling for a while. Obviously very productive. You take his 7 years that he played, the first 7 years, and put him up with any wide receiver numbers. He's right there with him. There's a lot of people who watch Sterling. I remember as a kid knowing who Sterling Sharp was, seeing him with Brett Favre, and a lot of people who got to watch him in his heyday would say easily no injuries, top 5 receiver, not debatable, and really you're really discussing top 3 at that point. And I remember when Shannon Sharp got inducted into the Hall of Fame, and I remember part of his speech was he mentioned something about being the only person in the Hall of Fame who's not even the best player in their family.
Yeah.
And made that plea, for the voters. Just look at his stats. Just look at the career and just make a decision from there. I don't know if you saw the video when they do those reveals where Sterling came over to his house. And that was just a really cool moment. That was just a really cool moment to the first brothers inducted. I thought it was going to be the Kelseys. I thought they were going to be the first brothers inducted, down the line. But I'm glad to see that it was Sterling and Shannon, and that's a huge honor. The first to do it. What did you think about this class? What do you think about some of the snubs? Or do any of the snubs get in eventually, in your opinion?
Love this class. I really think Willie should have got in. I don't know what it's gonna take for him to get in. I guess just more campaigning, from people that played with him, played during his time. I really don't know. I think Eli will probably eventually get in just because he's a Manning. And I do think Vinatieri should get in. I think he probably will get in as well. I think he made too many big kicks and too many big games, won a couple Super Bowls. So I definitely think he'll end up getting in. And as far as that length of time that you talked about, the 7 seasons that you mentioned for Sterling Sharp, after they put Terrell Davis in, who really only played 4 real seasons, I feel like anybody that ever reached elite status should be in. Like the fact that Terrell Davis is in and like Ocho isn't, like, just irks me. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Hey,
Like
man,
it's
listen,
just
people.
yeah.
Prime said it, man. One of the realest
It
quotes
needs to be
about
wings.
there need to be wings because my gold jacket ain't the same as his gold jacket, and that's just what it
Facts.
is.
Facts.
if anybody's read the Book of Basketball by Bill Simmons, he has a cool concept. I think he got it from one of his friends, but just the pyramid, the Hall of Fame pyramid, like literally there's different levels. Like there's, you get a Hall of Fame and it's all the Hall of Fame. So it's all something to brag about, but that top floor is for the ones.
For
You know what
sure.
I mean? It's just different wings of the Hall of Fame. And I agree with Deion when he said that.
Like if you won a bronze in the Olympics, you are still that person. Like, you know what I mean? But if you a gold medalist, it's just a different level. Y'all are both Olympic medal winners, but like that gold is different. You know what I
A
mean?
lot of people don't even place. To be top 3 in the whole world out of billions of what you do, that's incredible. That's an incredible feat. But like you said, they don't put the bronze covers on the Wheaties box.
They
They
do
just
not.
don't.
They
They
don't.
just don't.
You
It
might
is
get
what
a
it is.
book. You gonna get some endorsements, but you ain't getting that Wheaties box.
Yeah, I like the smaller classes actually. Unless you
I
really
love
have a
it.
crazy year. Unless you have a crazy year, I like the smaller classes because it really put some thought into it. And you can't let everyone in. You just can't.
And I remember seeing all of these dudes play. Like these dudes was studs. Like Jared Allen was a monster. Eric Allen was, man, he used to get jiggy. And Sterling, man, he was one of the most incredible receivers I ever saw play. It sucked that his career was kind of short lived. Antonio Gates, just a dog. We talking about an undrafted guy that hooped at Kent. You know, he was an undersized hooper and went to the league, learned how to run routes, use his hands, block, put his hand in the dirt, and is now a Hall of Famer. Like, I mean, that's just incredible, man. That's just a true testament of what hard work and dedication to get you right there. You know, so
yeah, man. And I was looking it up. 11 years. The 11th year of eligibility is when Terrell Davis got in.
yeah, so it took him a while, and I'm sure they begged and pleaded, and he was on TV for a while, and you know he got his name bubbling and that sort of thing. He ran for 2K one season, but like I said, man, dude played 70 some games. He only had 4 seasons where he played double digit games, and you know, for him to get in the Hall of Fame, like I said, you know, it's definitely some guys that's deserving. So
yeah, man, it is what it is. Willie's the biggest person that I wanted to talk about. As far as everybody else, congratulations on getting in. Like you said, seeing all these people play, I always look at it as when you think about their era, how far down the list until you mention their names. And all of these guys were they all kind of, I wouldn't say suffer, but kind of suffer from the same thing, especially like Jared Allen and Antonio Gates. Like they just didn't have the team success overall, but that didn't take away from their talent. You all knew who Antonio Gates was. You knew you had the game plan for him. Shout out to our guy Michael Lombardi. He would always use the phrase like you're not driving to the stadium worried about certain people. You're worried about how you're going to block Jared Allen. You're worried about how you're going to cover Antonio Gates.
Yep.
You know what I mean? The whole nine, everything. So all 4 of them. Shout out to them. Looking forward to the speeches. I always look forward to that. Now that I'm in Cleveland, maybe I need to go to Canton. I still have to go to Football Hall of Fame, which is insane.
I've never been either, so let's make it happen.
Let's set it up, man. Let's put Bengals gear on and just make it happen.
Yes, sir.
Definitely gotta
go see that Jamar display.
Definitely gotta see the Jamar display. Some Bengals news and notes. Obviously, most of it's going to be with Media Week. There's been more so quotes from Joe Burrow, quotes from Trey Hendrickson. Trey came out and he was on the Pat McAfee show and said he wants to help Cincinnati win a Super Bowl, whether he's here or not.
Yeah.
Whether that's picks for him, whatever the case may be. Supposedly they're going to be talking this week. Him and Duke will be talking about the future and what that looks like. And Joe has said he would, no question, restructure his contract if needed. Even though we know he doesn't need to because the Bengals have plenty of money. It's more so about how they're going to spend it. We've talked ad nauseum about the Bengal and their spending habits and it's really, call them frugal, call them cheap, whatever you want to call them. They really don't break the bank unless they absolutely have to. And it's kind of annoying because they're going to pay Jamar, right? We know they're going to pay Jamar. Yep. They're just going to wait until the last possible moment to do so. Yep. And that's the annoying part about it. What did you think about both of those quotes and what do you think about our chances, because once again we have the money, of everyone staying put and running it back and just seeing if we can resign all these big names?
Yeah, man. Shout out to Trey. I mean, because like that's the type of selfless mentality that you want to see from your best players, for him to say something like that, I want to help Cincinnati win, whether it's me here or not. And essentially saying, pay me or trade me. He also mentioned he would have liked to have heard from Duke. He didn't want to get a text from his dad about the news. And I respect that. You know what I mean? Like these players just want to be respected. They just want clear communication. They want to know what's going on. This isn't I mean, we've gotten extensions done with Trey in the past. I've been on record saying that I think the best bet for us is to move on from Trey. Because I think paying him an extra 8, 9, $10 million a year when he's over 30 now is asking a lot. And I mean, he, as much as I love Trey and as dominant as he is as a pass rusher and and sacking, he plays on one side. He's not effective against the run. You don't see him batting a lot of balls. So paying him the type of money that a Miles Garrett gets, that a TJ Watt gets, that a Max Crosby gets, that's really kind of difficult for me to do, to get behind. Now, if the return that you would get for Trey isn't what you want, then yeah, let's rock out. Let's extend it 1 year because we got the money to do it. Because the only person getting paid right now is Joe. Then yeah, let's go. Let's go for it. Let's trade back in the first round and get a couple extra picks that way, and kind of fill some holes that route. I can make an argument either way, but I do still think the best thing is to move on from Trey, depending upon what you can get. So I am excited to hear that Trey and his representation is supposed to be meeting with the Bengals this coming week to figure something out because, as you stated, the Bengals notoriously do drag their feet. So I'm hoping that this pressure that Joe has been putting on him in the media and now Trey even popping up at Radio Row will kind of help them move with a little more urgency, man. Like you got a new coordinator in here, you got a defense to rebuild. Let's get this Trey T Jamar situations resolved so we can shift our focus elsewhere because we already have a small limited front office staff. Like we need to get these deals done. Like the framework has been there. The Jamar framework is already there. You've been at the table with T plenty of times already over the past 2 seasons. Like let's get it figured out. You've done extensions with Trey and his representation. His agency hasn't changed. So both sides know what to expect in all three of those situations. So, and in the Jamar T situation, you're really only dealing with one side because they got the same agent, they got the same representation. So, you know, get it done.
Well said. Well said. That's pretty much as simple as you can put it. Listen, you got to pay rent.
Got to.
Got to pay rent, man. Rent's due.
And
There's
it
no
only
point of hanging
goes
on
up.
to it.
Like, do you want to pay a little bit more for what you know, or do you want to go move to a new development in an area you don't know?
Right. Man, if you know you're gonna pay it anyway, just go ahead and pay it, man. Why get the late fee? Why
There
get
you
the
go.
late fee? That's what we got right now with Jamar. We're paying a
Yep.
late fee because of the season
T
he just had.
also. We could have got
T,
T for 20 mil a year last season
yep,
before even going to the tag. You know what I'm saying? Like we couldn't even get to 20. They was offering them something in the teens.
yeah. Whatever, man. Whatever. Obviously we'll have more conversation about
Yeah.
contracts and things in
Mhm.
the off season once we get a little bit more motion. But moving on, I don't know if you had anything else Bengals related that you wanted to discuss. Oh, real time breaking news just came in on the phone, Phil.
Yep. I
Not a
just
big
saw it.
surprise. Yeah, not a big surprise. Kellen Moore just announced as the next head coach of the Saints. Obviously, been a lot of time in New Orleans getting ready for the Super Bowl, so I'm sure they were able to knock things out. Have some meetings, see his new office, everything else. We'll see how that works out for Kellen Moore. But yeah, instead of talking about props as a whole, I do just want to talk about Super Bowl MVP and the odds for that, and then what that's going to look like going into our conversation about who we think is going to win and everything else. So the odds on favorites: Patrick Mahomes plus 120, Saquon plus 250, Jalen plus 350, and then you big jump to where you have Travis Kelce plus 1,400, Xavier Worthy at plus 3,100, AJ Brown at plus 3,500. The largest odds: Brandon Graham Actually, you have a lot of players plus 75,000.
Okay.
Anybody that stood out as far as this person really could win a Super Bowl MVP. We've never had a tight end win a Super Bowl MVP. Just want to
Interesting.
put it out there.
Yeah.
Dallas Goedert plus 12,000. I don't know if you want to put a couple dollars on that. Yeah, but no tight end has ever won a Super Bowl MVP. I don't think this is the year that's going to happen. But it does say a lot that Patrick Mahomes is the favorite. Let's just go ahead and transition.
That makes sense. The Chiefs are a 1.5-point favorite, so you figure if the Chiefs win, Mahomes is gonna be the MVP. So I think that line makes sense. And if the Eagles win, I think a lot of it's gonna have to do with Saquon. However, I do think there could be a potential for an Eagles receiver and maybe even the tight end that could win MVP because I do expect, Jalen to continue with the lower side on the passing yards. But let's say he throws for 225 and 2 touchdowns, and those 2 touchdowns are to the same player, the same receiver, and they go for over 100 yards. Maybe we see him win MVP like Cup did, that year that I like to forget about. But I think something like that could be possible. So if you want to, I don't know if you said Devontae Smith. That might be somebody I'd be interested in sprinkling. The Bama to Bama connection there with Jalen and Devontae could be interesting.
Yeah, definitely could be interesting. I don't know, man. I'm thinking about this game, and I'm looking at these MVPs, and I guess let's go and get into it. Who do you think is going to win the game on Sunday?
Honestly, I've gone back and forth a lot, but the last matchup, Chiefs won 38-35. My prediction for this one is Eagles 31, Chiefs 27. Obviously the Chiefs going for the three-peat, to beat the champ, to beat the champ, you gotta beat the champ. It's not gonna be an easy task. But ultimately, I think Philly is just at the end of the day, I think they're just a better team in so many different areas. And I think it's just going to be a lot to overcome at the end of the day, unless we see some of those controversial calls that we've seen for the Chiefs and with the Ref Alliance coming out and making a statement, this, that, and other. I think we're going to see a fairly officiated game. I think we have to. So, with that being said, I do think Philly is the better team. So, I do expect them to win. And like I said, I'm going with Philly 31-27. So, if you like that score, you would see that I also like the over in this game as well. So, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about the skill that it takes to win close games, and KC, and they're just dominant in one-score games, close games, and it's hard to bet against them, right? It just feels the only person I ever 100% no questions this team's not losing was Michael Jordan when he was on the Bulls, right? I remember as a kid just saying like he's just not. It just doesn't happen. Obviously, you start feeling that with Brady, even though he's lost, and then Mahomes is getting in that same area. You just feel crazy betting against them. Full disclosure, 2 years ago when they played in the Super Bowl, I bet against the Chiefs.
Yes.
Bet against the Chiefs and thought I was good. They were up 10, or the Eagles were up 10, and then things happened. The Chiefs seem to, I don't want to say get off the slow starts, but I looked at the box scores on their 3 Super Bowl wins since 2020. I don't know what it is about their fourth quarter magic and what they do. Go ahead.
I was going to say they had double-digit deficits, I think, in all of those games.
Yeah, they had double-digit deficits. Matter of fact, I actually wrote it down, so let me pull that back up real quick because I was just curious. And I have another question for you as I was going down that rabbit hole that I want to ask you about. But, yeah, so they were down. It was 10-3 at halftime. Actually, 10-10 at halftime. And the San Francisco, when they won, Jimmy G was the quarterback. That's their first Super Bowl. Super Bowl was at 54.
Yep.
So yeah, it was 10-10 at halftime, and then it was 20-10 going into the fourth quarter. The Niners were up.
There's that fourth quarter magic you talking about.
Yep, and they ended up getting outscored 11-0. Actually, no, I'm sorry. Am I doing my math right? 21. They scored 21 fourth quarter points in that game.
Okay.
The Chiefs did. So, like I said, they were down 20-10, scored 21 points in the fourth quarter, win 31-20. Right. We mentioned not last year, but 2 years ago when they beat the Eagles 24-14. The Eagles were up going into halftime. And then going into the fourth quarter, it's 27-21. They end up winning that game 38-35 on a Harrison Butker field goal, I think 27-yarder or something like that. The biggest thing right now that I'm looking at is I don't think it's going to be a close game. That's the thing. That's the difference, right? The difference between all of this is, yes, the Chiefs are skilled. Yes, it's tough to bet against them. I just think the Eagles are rolling, and I just think they're going to smack them. And that's no disrespect to the Chiefs because, man, they're hard to beat. And even saying that, I feel crazy. I could be 100% wrong. Actually, it wouldn't shock me if I'm wrong about this, but just something in my gut is telling me that this Eagles team is kind of built a little bit different. I think they got a chip on their shoulder, and I really think they want to come in here and make things shake. I just think the mindset is different. I think they know what it felt like to take that loss 2 years ago. The NFL is a hard place to win, to make it to a Super Bowl. You get one shot. A lot of great players never got the opportunity to play in the Super Bowl. Some people only win once.
Yep.
It's not a guarantee. So what the Chiefs are doing is something that's unreal, something you can't take for granted. However, I think the Eagles I don't think the close game thing won't matter because the Eagles are really going to smack them around. I have it going. I'm gonna flip it. I'm gonna take that same score from the. Well, do I want to do that? Because here's the thing. I want to bet the over. 38-35, like I mentioned last time. That was the last. I personally think that both offenses got better.
Yep.
Maybe not the Chiefs per se, but both offenses, in my opinion, got a little bit better. I want to say 31-20, but I also like the over.
That's still over. I think the over is 48.5.
Oh, snap, I'm tripping. Yeah. Yeah, shout out to everybody who took math. But yeah, no, that's it. I think that 31-20. I like that. I like that score. I don't see how the Chiefs really scored. I don't see how they score points. I don't see how. I'm just trying to think it out because it sounds crazy, and I know I sound nuts saying this.
Pat is just such a playmaker, man. He just finds ways to make little freaky fluke backyard, little out of rhythm, out of sync, plays, and especially in his biggest moments. So I'm really interested to see if Fangio can finally get a win against Pat. You know what I mean? I think that's one of the biggest matchups that I'm interested in to see is how they choose to attack him. I really want to see how Chris Jones affects this run game, if he affects this run game. I really want to see these Eagles receivers against these Chiefs defensive backs. We know about Andy Reid coming off the bye. I mean, there's a lot of matchups that I think are really going to be key. And I'm excited, man. I think it's going to be I could see Philly running away, like you said. The way that Philly did Washington last week, that was crazy. But I could see something like that. I don't think it's going to happen. But if any team were to run away with it, I think it would be Philly just because they just got that type of firepower. Like, it's just.
They built for it. They're the perfect team to go in there and compete. Like I said, not saying that there's going to be a blowout, but I'm going to be shocked if Philly lays an egg and doesn't win this game. And like I said, for extra measure, I think they're going to win it, pretty convincingly. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up, get out of here. We'll have a lot more input. I haven't watched the Chiefs or the Eagles enough to really kind of give breakdowns of how to think the game's going to go. So we won't try it, but we'll be back probably Tuesday, I'd say. We'll be back Tuesday with a new episode just to kind of talk about the game, what happened, and everything else from there. So with that being said, we appreciate y'all tuning in. Phil, any last words?
Man, Super Sunday is here, and hopefully you get a super meal and we get a super game.
That's all you can ask for, man. Everybody out there, we appreciate y'all tuning in. We will see you in a few days to discuss Super Bowl 59. Until then, who dey?
Who dey?